This is the Incarnation of Neglect, the second boss that has been added in 3.26 Merc League in PoE 1. Now this boss has some good drops. I have decided to farm this one 50 times to see if it's profitable right now. As for its drops, talking about the uniques, we have the Betrayal Sting. The Betrayal Sting isn't quite expensive even with max rolls. This is particularly used for dust. I believe it can grant you without quality about 120k dust. We have here the storable amulet. Now these amulets can sell for 100 chaos a piece, sometimes a bit more. They also are used for dust. They can grant you without quality, I think about 600k, a bit more dust. We have the Aracom Tools cloth belt. Now this belt particularly is not that expensive. However, with max roll, trap and mine throwing speed, you can get some good currency for it. If not, then also dust. And finally we do have the Legacy of the Rose. This is the rarest item amongst all. Now as well, this item isn't as expensive. I had it on set up with maximum physical damage. However, if we remove those, this item is worth about 100c, and this particularly is also used for dust. However, it also drops the Bound by Destiny. Now these jewels right here, unidentified, sell for 6 divines a piece right now. And finally we have the monochrome card, which a stack of 3 grants you 1 Valdo puzzle box. This card sells at 30 chaos a piece. And the Orb of Remembrance, this being the most expensive out of all its drops. This orb right here sells at around 8 divines.
Hello.
Let's go check out right here. As you can see right here, this is almost 8.1 to 8.2 divines right now. So we are gonna be fishing for those. This boss fight isn't very hard, especially right now when we are at this point of the league, when we have mastered our builds. And if we compare that to the first run that I made with the Incarnation of Dread, this is much faster because it does not have any phases. You will be able to melt the boss's life very fast because it does not phase, so he does not go invulnerable. So in terms of investment, I paid about 135 divines for all of the keys. That makes the price per key 135 divided by 50, 2.7 divines per key. Now with the orb having a roughly estimate of 32% drop chance, we have a good chance to make profit. However, you don't know the RNG. We're gonna have to run them and see what happens. Now let's run one here. Let me just take the volume down. Damage takes a bit of time to ramp up. However, when it does, it just phases in very fast. We do not really need to phase the boss. He just dies very fast. As you can see, it took us about 40 seconds to kill the boss. However, I do have the Abyss setup right here. If I had my my bossing setup, I would have killed him faster. And we dropped 1 ring. I will be running that 49 more times, and we'll be back when I'm done to discuss the loot. So these didn't take a lot of time. On average, it took us about 30 seconds to kill the boss, 30 to 35. Now, in terms of drops, we got 17 belts, 25 rings, 7 amulets, 4 jewels, 19 orbs, and 1 card. Now, in terms of all the drops, it was probably as estimated. However, we did get lucky with the amount of orbs. We got more than what was expected. Now, if we only count the orbs, clearly we did make a profit. The orb right now is sitting at around 8 divines, let's say. We dropped 19. If we put 19 times 8, we have 152. We paid initially 135 divines for our farming session. So, only from the orbs, we are in the green. Now, in terms of amulets, the identification of the amulets and the rings does not matter. I think we can sell the rings at about 30 chaos per ring if we want to sell them for people who want dust. However, if we want to dust them ourselves, this is very nice. And the amulets, of course, the identification does not matter. We can sell each amulet for about 100C. So if we add, let's say I sell the rings for 25 chaos apiece, we have 25 rings. That's 25 times 25. This is 625 chaos. And we add to that the 700 chaos from our 7 amulets. This is about 1.3k chaos orbs. Now the divine right now is 168 chaos orbs. If we divide 1.325 by 168, this is about 7.8. So 152 plus 7.8, this gives us roughly about 160 divines. Now we'll be adding to that the 4 jewels, unidentified. As I said, those jewels go for 6 divines, and 6 times 4 is 24. So 160 plus 24, this gives us 184 divines. And this card right here goes for 30 chaos. This isn't much. Now, as for the belts, I'm going to identify them. Now as for the belts, when we identify them, we need to be looking for mana reservation, increase effect of non-damaging ailments, and mine and trap throwing speed. I will check those out and see which ones are actually good. So after sorting them out, I have here 3 belts that are worth about a divine each. They have good rolls. And here I have a belt that is worth actually more because it has max roll on the reservation efficiency, and with even good rolls on the ailments and the throwing speed. This belt right here, let me see, is worth around, I don't know, this is 6 divines and 10 divines. However, they have been listed for a long time. I believe we can sell that for, I think, 5 divines. I don't know if they will actually sell. Let's say this goes for 5 and these, each of them goes for 3. That's 8 divines. So 8 plus 184 from the items before that will give us 192 divines, minus the initial investment 135 will give us 57 divines of profit. Now, of course, I won't be selling these items. I will be dusting them because dust right now is really worth it, especially if you're sending 50 million shipments. Yesterday I got 3 mirror shards from a 50 million shipment. Now finally I'm going to identify those jewels in the hope of getting something really good. Last time I did identify them when I farmed the Incarnation of Dread. The percent strength, percent attribute jewel sold for 75 divines. This was not really expected. I estimated at much less. Now here we got, let's see. And as expected, those stats are not showing on the awakened trade. Give me a second to price them again. And as usual, those jewels are worth nothing except for this one right here that has percent strength. I believe you can get around 10 divines for it. As for the others, this one has reflect, poison, nothing really good. This one has unaffected by shock, spell crit chance, additional curse, nothing really major. And finally this one that has percent dexterity. This one I believe we can get maybe 3 divines for it. I am not really sure. So what I do advise you is to sell those unidentified. They are a really big loss. I just identify them for the sake of the video and for your entertainment. Now what I do is that I put them in a one divine tab, and if they sell they sell, if they don't they don't, and I will be putting this one right here for let's say 10 divines, and when it sells it sells. So in conclusion, this boss is worth farming. However, if the price of these keys go up, in my opinion it's not worth it, and be mindful to sell your jewels unidentified because they are not worth identifying. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment. And as always, like if you like, subscribe if you want, and thank you for watching.